Hello and welcome to Cretaceous Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Mattel Jurassic World Legacy Collection Wave 1 human action figures consisting of Dr. Alan Grant, Dr. Ellie Sattler, and Robert Muldoon. In the US, these are Target exclusives, as is the Legacy Collection line for Jurassic World. And I am super excited to have these because it marks the first time in 20 years that basic action figures are designed off of the original characters from Jurassic Park. In fact, of everything coming from the new Mattel Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom line, these are the items I have been most excited for. Anything from the Legacy Collection. So the packaging on each of these guys is pretty simplistic. You basically have a rectangular design. It's a little bit unusual looking from a graphics perspective. You see that you have a very nice coloration. I really love the deep blue with the trees in the background. Rexy there with scars from Jurassic World. So definitely not the Jurassic Park Rexy design. And I do like the gate. I like the orange that they decided to go with. I would have preferred just the Jurassic Park logo personally, but I like what they did here. I just think it looks kind of unusual how they have this really big blister, which definitely isn't environmentally sensitive, but it just looks a little unusual how the logo is like way down here and the Rex is kind of blocked off by the bubble. Just kind of an unusual packaging aesthetic, not to mention all the empty space in here. But it does a pretty good job of showing you what you're going to get. It's basically the figure, it's the little dinosaur and an accessory in Dr. Grant's case here. So very simplistic. Here at the back, you get a look at Dr. Grant surrounded by 3 of the compies. You get 1 compy with each of the human figures. A little picture of Dr. Grant, super tiny picture of him there from the film, and Mattel. So really excited to see what Mattel's going to do here with the Jurassic World toys. Things are off to a really promising start though. Then for Dr. Sattler, same thing. You see the figure, you see the compy, you see the accessory, which she has a flashlight, and everything's looking quite good. And at the back, same thing. There she is fighting off 3 compies. There's Laura Dern, aka Dr. Ellie Sattler, looking really nice. And then we have Robert Muldoon, same thing, he has a compy, his accessory is a rifle, and at the back, there he is fighting off the 3 compies, and there's his picture. All right, so I'm really eager to get all of these out of the packaging, that way we can take a closer look and see what these figures are like. Really excited to have 3 3/4 inch scale Jurassic Park human action figures in the line once again, and we're going to go ahead and compare them, of course, to their Kenner iterations as well. And here are our heroes out of the packaging, and I am really liking what I am seeing here. These are looking really good, and it kind of feels like a little bit of a miracle that we actually got these, because I never would have expected that 25 years after Jurassic Park I would have brand new action figures of Dr. Sattler, Dr. Grant, and Muldoon, yet here they are. So we're going to go ahead and look at each one of them, but first let's go ahead and focus on Dr. Grant. So from a sculpting perspective, this figure is looking really good. He's very proportionate. He's not too beefed up like the Kenner version. Head's a good size in relation to the torso. The arms and the legs look to be quite humanistic. Looking up close at Dr. Grant, the likeness is really good. It's really good. It's actually quite amazing that Mattel, who usually isn't the best in terms of likenesses in the 3 3/4 inch scale, actually did a really good job of capturing the look of Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. And they did use a type of a print screening technology to incorporate the paint details. You can kind of see that if you get up really close to it. It doesn't detract from the overall look. It's not the same sort of photoreal technology that Hasbro's incorporating on their 6-inch lines, but it is a sort of paint screening technique that they're doing with these Jurassic Park 3 3/4 inch scale figures. It's a very clean way of doing it because, as you can see, the eyes look pretty proportionate and the details look quite good. A little slash right there on his cheek, not a big deal at this scale really. You can kind of tell that there is a slight gap between the hat and the head, like right in there. And I guess that just means that the hat wasn't glued down all the way. I'm not sure how common that's going to be with these figures. The shirt looks a little bit light in color, but it's not too bad. At this scale, you can kind of forgive things like that. He does have his little scarf tied around his neck, his bandana, and you can't see a whole lot of detail with it, but it's there. You got his forearms, you got his watch. The color of the pants looks pretty good, maybe a little bit too greenish, but again, it's really hard to complain in light of the fact that there are even Jurassic Park action figures in 2018. So you can see some of the imprinting there for the Kenner information. For the Mattel information right there. There's also a date stamp right there on his butt. Not quite sure why they decided to put it there per se, but that's where it is. It probably would have worked better if it was in here or something, but that's what they did. You can see his belt right there. Pretty nice little sculpted details there. And then the shoes, or his boots, they look to be a nice color. You do have peg holes on either side of the feet. And in terms of articulation, you have a ball joint here at the head. So you can get the head to go up a little bit, go down a little bit, tilt, and you can rotate it side to side. Nice. Ball hinging at both of these shoulders. So you can get them to go out, you can get them to go forward, rotate them in any which way. You also get insert molded elbows. Those go up, and you can get, it looks like close to 90 degrees, not all the way, but pretty close. And those rotate as well. Nothing at the wrists. You have a rotation at the waist. You also get the insert molded hips that enables you to do more than a split. Check this out. Dr. Grant has been practicing his yoga. That's pretty awesome. Those go in back, and then you can get them a full 90 degrees, which is really nice and super important for driving the Jeep. You also get ball hinging at both of the knees, and they're pretty well obscured. If you look at them from the front, they did a good job concealing those joints. You can see them from the back, but from the front, very, very nice. And you can also rotate those in any which way. And there isn't any articulation at the boots. I feel that this is totally sufficient for an action figure in this scale for a Jurassic Park type line. So I'm really happy with it. So Dr. Grant also comes with this pistol. It does look like it is a flare gun. There isn't a flare that goes into it. That kind of would have been cool. But he didn't use a flare gun in Jurassic Park. He used one in Jurassic Park 3. So I don't know if that's what the tie-in is supposed to be. He holds it quite well in his hand, which is really important. And that is partly due to the fact that the hands are very flexible. So very easy to insert the accessories. I do want to remark on how the plastic is a little bit soft. And that is good in a way. On one hand, you don't want the plastic to be too brittle because then things can be prone to snapping or breaking. But you also don't want it too rubbery because that does, over time, affect how the figure looks. If you have it posed in a certain way, it might cause the plastic to warp just a little bit. It doesn't seem too bad. I mostly see that here in the hands or in the lower arms. Which again does help with holding accessories, but all in all, not too bad. And then finally, Dr. Grant comes with his compy. And it is interesting that they elected to go with compies rather than other dinosaurs. I guess it's cool. I personally would have liked to have seen them go the route of the classic Kenner dinosaur pack-ins, which in Dr. Grant's case would have been a pteranodon. But you know what? This is better than nothing. It's very simple. There's not really any detail on it. It's basically just cast in this green color. And it's got a little bit of sculpted detail, nothing too crazy. You can see like the face, eye, and the teeth. And again, very pliable plastic. And you can basically just adhere it onto the figure like so. And it's interesting. I mean, it kind of gives you the impression that the dinosaur is humping Dr. Grant's leg. But you don't have to put it on his leg. You can put it on his arm, which it still kind of looks a little funny. But yeah, I mean, it is cool that it does interact with the figure on some level. For his height, Dr. Grant comes in at about 3 3/4 inches exactly, which is also equivalent to about 8.5 centimeters. All right, and here's Dr. Grant with Dr. Grant. Of course, this is the Kenner Jurassic Park Alan Grant, who stands at 4.5 inches tall. This was a larger scale action figure size, which is pretty typical for Kenner back in the early 90s. And he absolutely towers over the Mattel Dr. Grant, so maybe we should call this Big Al. And that brings us to the lovely Dr. Sattler, as Dr. Malcolm would tell us. And she's also looking really good. Proportionately, she looks excellent. The head to shoulders ratio looks really good. The arms to legs ratio also looks very nice. Not really any exaggeration other than the elbows, which do look a little bit wide, but that is because there is articulation there. What I think they really nailed on this figure is the color of the outfit. The coral colored top, spot on. The blue shirt underneath, that color, spot on. The khaki pants, perfect. And then, of course, you get a little bit of color detail there for the belt buckle, which is kind of nice. The hiking boots with the hiking socks, I mean, that looks really good. You can see the laces sculpted on there, peg holes on bottom. and even detail here around the soles of the shoes. Now, if we look up close at the figure, we can see that she has a very nice likeness, like I said. Now, there is a little bit too much in terms of the makeup, but at this scale, you actually need that because when you look at it far away, if you didn't have that, it would just look washed out. So you need to have a little bit of extra detailing going on for the face. And I think that for the most part, it works. It's not too overdone, but it definitely is enhanced over what we see in the film. Now, the hair color is a little bit too bleached blonde. It's not terrible, but it just seems a little bit too light, ever so slightly. But it is sculpted pretty nicely. It is back in the bun like it was in the film for a lot of the time. And overall, she's looking really good. Articulation is going to be exactly the same as we got on Dr. Grant. And it is nice to see them having incorporated all of those same joints on both figures and presumably across the entire Legacy line for both Waves 1 and Wave 2. So all the joints work very well. And like with Dr. Grant, I did mention how it was a little bit rubbery feeling in some spots. That is also the case with Dr. Sattler. You mostly notice it also on the forearms, but also a little bit on the legs as well. Nothing terribly bad, but there is a little bit noticeable gumminess to those limbs. So where Dr. Grant came with the flare gun, Dr. Sattler comes with a flashlight, which is screen accurate. She did use this when she went out searching for Dr. Grant and the kids and Dr. Malcolm in Jurassic Park. So it looks pretty nice. I like how they did give it some silver detailing there to make it look like it's on. And it is a simplistic accessory, but for the most part, it works, and you can tell it was made in China. She does hold the flashlight very well, which is super important for accessories included at this scale. And of course, Dr. Sattler also comes with a compy. Hers is a little bit different from Dr. Grant's, and you can see Dr. Grant's was kind of in this kind of grasping sort of position. Hers is more in a running or lashing out type of pose. You can see the mouth's open, the neck's outstretched, and the limbs are kind of outstretched, like it's about to go for something. So it is cool that these are at least a little bit different, even if they aren't the most glamorous looking dinosaur pack-ins. You can also attach it to her limbs, and that is pretty cool that they do interact with the figures. Here's a comparison with the Kenner iteration of Dr. Sattler, and you can see quite the difference that 25 years makes. They do look quite different, even though some of the qualities are obviously quite similar, like the coloration of the outfit and the color of the boots. I still love the Kenner version, no doubt about it, but it is also really nice to see what Mattel can do in 2018. Here's our Series 2 Dr. Sattler, and again, quite different, a little bit of a better likeness overall, and that'll always have its place in my collection, but gosh, this is looking darn good. And last but not least, we have Robert Muldoon. That was terrible. Robert Muldoon, he's looking really good. Like the other figures, very proportionate. I like the way that they contoured the vest to his body. I think that looks quite nice. And of course, the super high socks that Muldoon is well known for. Look at those calves. You can definitely tell that this guy works out purposefully for those socks. He wants to show off his socks. And what better way to do that than by, working out those calves. Look at that. This guy is ripped. He looks great. Like with the other figures, he does have the paint screening technique that was applied, and it looks good. It's painted quite nicely. Like with Dr. Grant, there is a little bit of a gap there that you can see between the hat and the head, and it's a little more apparent, I think, on Muldoon. Again, I don't know if this is typical for this line, or maybe just a few figures are like that. Maybe you can let me know in the comments if yours are like that. But I think that the head looks really good. The coloration looks spot on to what he wore in the film, kind of a minty colored button-up shirt. Again, the vest is looking really nice. The shorts look good. He's got his belt. He's got his high socks, and his hiking boots are looking quite nice. Peg holes on the bottom. Overall, there's really not I can complain about. I mean, other than like this number just being splattered on his buttocks. But it looks pretty good overall. Quite happy with these figures. Articulation, again, is going to be the same as it is on those other figures. So you do have some pretty good options for how you display them or how you put them inside your T-Rex's mouth or have them maneuvering the Jeep or what have you. So overall, really nice. And of course, Muldoon does come with his rifle because after all, they are being hunted, and he doesn't need to have that to protect himself from any incoming raptors. It's sculpted pretty nicely. There is a little bit of detail on it. It's nothing too extreme. You can see that this piece right here that does collapse in the film is sculpted in place. It would have been nice if it was articulated so you could pull it back just like he did in the film, but Not a big deal, not really expected. Now, due to the way that the articulation is incorporated and the fact that there are no swiveling wrists, he doesn't hold it ideally in two hands. You kind of get this awkward sort of look as if he's playing a guitar. So you can get him to hold it in two hands. It's not ideal, but it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. I used to bullseye compies in my 216 back home. They're not bigger than 1 meter.
And then, of course, we have Muldoon's compy, which is a little bit different from the other two. It's kind of more in that position of Dr. Grant's where it looks like it's grasping onto something. But in this case, the mouth is open, which is a different feature. And, of course, you can attach it to his limbs. But it does come across, once again, like the compy is passionately hugging Muldoon's leg. All right, and here's our comparison with the Kenner Series 2 Muldoon. And again, you can see what happens in 25 years, because after all, you can't suppress 25 years of toy evolution, can you? All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. These are the Mattel Jurassic World Legacy Collection Wave 1 human action figures comprised of Dr. Alan Grant, Dr. Ellie Sattler, and Robert Muldoon. Overall, you guys, I am more pleased with these than I anticipated being. I mean, I was already happy with the fact that we were even getting 25-year-old Jurassic Park human characters in action figure form once again, but the execution that Mattel accomplished with the figures did exceed my expectations. Aesthetically, the figures are very proportionate, they harbor very good likenesses, they have very sufficient articulation that functions quite well, and admittedly some pretty fun accessories, even if they aren't the ideal dinosaurs that I would have packed in with these figures. But nonetheless, the real thing here is the action figures, and they turned out magnificently. I am very, very happy with these. For $7.99 a piece, you really cannot go wrong here, especially if you're a long time or a new Jurassic Park collector. These are absolutely essential. I think a lot of fans and collectors are going to be very happy with the execution of these figures on Mattel's part. Here's hoping that we get more and more figures from Legacy Collection, not just from Jurassic Park, but also from The Lost World and maybe even Jurassic Park 3. We'll see. Alright guys, stay tuned because there are more reviews from the Mattel Jurassic World Legacy Collection on the way. Hope you've enjoyed this review. If so, be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to the Cantina Chatter podcast on iTunes. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Cretaceous Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.